So as everybody knows, tonight I'll be talking about the basics of the college application process. There's really a lot to this, so I'm going to try and fly through everything. If I had you in person, could probably sit down and talk to you about this for 3 or 4 hours. So I'm going to try and condense that 3 or 4 hour talk into a probably 30-minute webinar. So just bear with me, and if we fly through things, like I said, please don't hesitate. I'll take some questions at the end if we have time for it, and then I'll also be available afterwards to be contacted on the community. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can email me or call the school, like I said before. So I guess I should go back and actually introduce myself. My name is Brittany Malcolm. I'm the school counselor here, and I work a lot with our high school students and a little bit with college and career students on various issues. So that's me, and that's how you can get in touch with me. So tonight's webinar, like I said, I really want to focus on the college planning process. So identifying post-secondary options and how they can coincide with your interests, your achievement, and where you want to go with your life and your career. So hopefully everybody will be able to do that, to be able to demonstrate awareness of education and training process and achieving their career goals, identifying the steps in this process, and also how to use research, the internet, and other resources to obtain this information. So the internet is your oyster. I know that sounds cliche, but there's so much out there that you could find by just doing research online. So I will walk you through some of that. I'll try to do a little bit of a live demo once I get to a few specific topics, and that way you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing is, this is a question I get from students. I think I want to go to college, so where on earth do I start? So I like to break it down into 4 steps. So number 1 would be research. That is really the key of all of this. You want to research your desired career and your college options for that career. So you want to be a pharmacy technician. Okay, what do I need to do to be a pharmacy technician? You want to be a teacher. Okay, what do I have to do to be a teacher? Really, that's what I suggest most students do, is kind of start with your goal and work backwards. So your ultimate goal, and then work backwards from that. And if you do have a very high goal for yourself, certainly some of our students do. Maybe they want to be a doctor, lawyer, something that would require many, many years of schooling. You could start backwards. So if you want to be one day a nurse practitioner, okay, well, that's going to take a graduate degree, which would be 2 degrees actually, your bachelor's and then a master's. So you want to start smaller. You want to say, okay, well, what would I need for my bachelor's? So and that's what I mean in that sense. You want to think about your goal and your options to achieve that goal. Number 2 is investigating your alternatives. So where can I go to college for this degree that I want, this ultimate career goal of mine? So sometimes there's certification programs. So you don't always need a 2-year degree or 4-year degree to get to the career that you desire. So for instance, I know a student of mine was looking to become an ultrasound technician or medical sonographer, and she was considering doing a bachelor's degree for that, but she actually found a program where she could be certified in 18 months, and then after that she could pursue the 4-year degree. So it kind of transitioned her from the certification so that she can obtain certification in a year and a half and work, and then while she's working, finish that bachelor's degree. So there's options out there. It's not just, one thing that you can do. There's way more out there, and I'll get into that later. So number 3 in this process is you make contact. So once you have your options narrowed down, you kind of have a list of some places you want to investigate, you want to make contact with the school, because that's really the best way to get the information, is to get it right from the source. They could tell you a lot about the application process, about their deadlines, about getting some aid for yourself. scheduling a campus visit, things like that. And the fourth and final one, obviously, is apply. So once you've had all this narrowed down, you've talked to the school, you know your deadlines, you know what you need to do, you want to apply. You want to make sure you have everything in line, your SAT scores and ACT if necessary, an essay, letters of recommendation, transcript, and so forth. So I'm going to try and break all those 4 steps down so that it's a little bit more feasible and everybody understands what I'm talking about. So with step 1, research. So what kind of questions should you be asking yourself? Well, number 1, like I said, is what career do you want to pursue? Ultimately, what do you want to do with your life? Number 2, what degree and training is needed for that career? And lastly, number 3, what colleges offer that degree or level of training required? So if you want to go to school to be a public relations specialist or advertising, you want to go to school somewhere that has public relations or communications or a related field that is going to allow you to obtain that career that you eventually want to pursue with your life. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's a whole lot of questions, and how on earth do I get them answered? So luckily, like I said before, there's so much out there on the internet, so the answers to a lot of your questions can be found on various sites on the internet. So just a few of these are really just a tiny tidbit of what's out there. Collegeboard.org, Career Cruising, which is the Penn Foster's Career Services. There's collegeview.com, myautonomy.com, Next Step U, and the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So if I can, I'm just going to try and visit a couple of these sites right now. So the first one would be, I always try and encourage students to use Career Cruising. This is our career services feature. It's totally free to all Penn Foster students. You might have already accessed it, some of you. If not, I really encourage it. You can just access it by clicking on the career services button once you're logged into your student portal. And it'll take you right to this site. You will have to create a username and password, but like I said, it's free. So once you're logged in, you're going to see this big dashboard here, and a couple of places I would start. Like I said, you always want to look at the careers. Do some exploration on careers. So if you click on the career tab, you can search by school subjects, career clusters, industries, or you can enter a specific career name. So say I want to be an architect. Let's see if I could spell it first. Okay, I think that's right. I'll search it. Okay, it came up. Good. So you search architect, then you can click on an architect, and it's going to tell you all these different things about being an architect. So what is the job description? What are the working conditions, the earnings? And then the education for this purpose that we're talking about tonight is going to be what you would want to look at specifically to determine what colleges you want to pursue. So it will tell you a little bit about how it varies from state to state. Most architects complete a 5-year Bachelor of Architecture program. Students can enter the Bachelor program straight from high school, making it the most direct career route to architecture. So this is just what they suggest. It's not 100% for everybody. There's a lot of different ways that you can achieve the career that you want, but there's thousands and thousands of careers out there. So I would really suggest taking advantage of this site and also the education tab, because this is where you can kind of click in different states and find out various schools that offer what you want. And like I said, I know this is a really quick overview of it, but if you get in there and click around, you'll find it's pretty easy to use the Career Cruising site. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Occupational Outlook Handbook is another great place to access. It's produced by the United States Department of Labor, so you know this is all legitimate information. So this is also another place where you can just search through different occupation groups. So like healthcare, for instance, say you're considering becoming a dental hygienist. which, wow, they make a median pay of $70,000, so that would be a good career to pursue, I think. So anyways, dental hygienist, you can click on that, and it will tell you, okay, so I need an associate's degree to be a dental hygienist. We'll tell you the job outlook, so 33% growth from 2012 to 2022. And that is a much faster than average according to this growth rate. So that'd be something to consider when you're looking at different fields. So it'll also tell you, like Career Cruising did, a little bit about the work environment, what they do, the pay, things like that. And just two more, and then we'll jump right back into the webinar. Mytonomy is another great website that can be really helpful for students that are in high school or that are trying to go to college, or, you know, various different people. So mytonomy.com, and once you're here, you click on all topics, and then you can scroll down and you'll see there's many different topics here. First generation, college students, high school academics, parent information, all kinds of great stuff. So like, let's say that you want to, let's see. Oh, so applying to the right number of schools, that's always a big question. And it's telling me I need to create a video or create an account, but you could still watch these videos. So these are all videos that have been uploaded by students or other individuals that have experience with the college application process, and specifically with this question, which is applying to the right number of schools and how many colleges should I apply to. So you can click on these individuals' videos and you can actually watch. Some of them are really short, a couple of minutes, some of them are a little bit longer. But you can watch this video. She's going to tell you what she thinks about safety schools, what she learned. So really, it's kind of a cool interactive tool because you're watching somebody else's video. They're telling you about their experience. It's a pretty neat website. Okay, so fourth and last for this little section is the College Board website. So College Board is really a great hub of information for students that are planning to pursue college. Not only is this where you register for your SATs or your PSATs, this is also a great site for you to do some college searching. So you can actually search by many different criteria. So if you want to look specifically at a location, you can input your location. How many miles within home do you want to be? So I want to be 50 miles within home. So then you put in your zip code, and then you can search by broader range. You can search by 400, 500 miles. Then you can go down to different things like what kind of housing is offered at that school, what kind of sports, what kind of majors do they have, and this will narrow it down to you. So you can see, okay, well, maybe there's actually only 5 schools in my state that offer this program. So then, you know, right there, well, you've narrowed it down pretty well. So that's that. And once again, this is something that when you have time, definitely look at it. There's so much more to it than I could show you in just a quick preview. All right. So that is the basics for step 1. So step 2 is investigating your options. And believe it or not, yes, you do have actually a lot of options when it comes to college. So what are these options? So 2-year or 4-year. So do you want to go to a 2-year school or a 4-year school? So what's the difference? Community college, technical schools, they're typically going to be your 2-year schools, and universities are going to typically be your 4-year schools. So sometimes students want to kind of ease themselves into the college process. So maybe starting with a 2-year degree, local, close to home, and a community college is going to be best for you. Again, community college to a 4-year school. Sometimes you can take courses at community college for even a semester or a year and then eventually transfer into a 4-year school. This kind of allows you to actually save some money and build up your study skills, build up your study habits. Maybe you don't want to go move away from home right away. So this is a great option for anybody that's considering those different things. So online, hybrid, or in the classroom. Today is a world of technology. Things that we could do now you couldn't do in the past. So like many of you know, since you're all Penn Foster students, I would assume, there's so many options out there for online learning. So nowadays, you're not just you're not just stuck with, okay, I guess I have to go to school, like I have to physically drive to my school to attend class. That's not always the case anymore. There are many online schools out there. There are some hybrid programs where some of your learning is done online, some of it's done in a classroom. So that's an option for you to consider. Trade school, public institutions, or private institutions. So a public versus private, that's something that students sometimes get confused on. So your public universities are going to be ones that are state schools. So typically they receive a lot of state funding to operate, where your private schools are going to be obviously privately funded. So typically like a more religious university, like an institution that's like a Catholic university, would typically be like a private school, where a public institution would be, like I said, your state school. So like University of Maryland, that would be a public school. But George Mason University, that would be a private institution. And that doesn't really matter a whole heck of a lot. The only thing is with public schools, usually if you're an in-state student, so if you live in Virginia and you're applying to the University of Virginia, you'll get a cheaper tuition than somebody that lived in New Jersey and was applying to University of Virginia. Where with private, they usually don't have those varied tuition rates for in and out of state. And typically, this is by all means just not a rule, but just kind of a typical things that happen. Private schools usually do more in the way of scholarships for their students. That's not to say if you attend a public school, you're not going to get a scholarship. By no means, that's not at all. But typically, because the cost is a little bit higher, they will kind of subsidize that a little bit with offering scholarships. Okay, so the last thing about this is looking into combined combined bachelor's and master's programs. So this is kind of something on the newer side of things. A lot of students I tell this to are kind of shocked when I tell them, but there's actually more programs out there that allow you to get your bachelor's and master's in a 5-year to 6-year time period. So you can get both degrees at one school, and the way they do this is actually some of your advanced level coursework, so some of your typically, senior year courses actually overlap and are graduate courses. So I know a big one for that is occupational therapy or physical therapy, speech language pathology. Those are all some programs, and there's many more out there, but usually those are big ones that combine the bachelor's degree and the master's degree. So step number 3 would be to make contact with the school. So once you have everything narrowed down, what you want to go to school for, what career you want to pursue, and you were able to select some schools that you're interested in, the thing you want to do is make contact. So start by looking at the admissions department. So every school nowadays has a website. I would assume anyways that every school has a website. Or, I mean, if they don't, I would assume that their information would be on College Board. So check out College Board, and also just kind of Google. You can just Google search for the school that you're looking at. But anyhow, no matter what the school is, you're going to look for their admission department or their enrollment center, whatever they call it, and they'll let you know on their website how to contact them. So once you make contact, you really, and this part is super important, and that's why I have a little important stamp there, you want to make an attempt to visit the school. So a lot of schools will have open houses, they'll have campus visits, they'll have spend a summer day or spend an evening, things like that. You really, really want to take advantage of those because sometimes the more competitive schools, they actually look into that when they review your application. They look into it and say, okay, I have John Smith's application here. Here's his SAT scores. Here's his high school transcript. Here's his essay. And then they'll look into their files. Okay, has he visited our campus? Yes, he has. All right, good. They would possibly give him almost a little bit of a leg up in comparison to students that haven't visited the campus. So that's always a good thing to do. So step 4 would be actually applying. So once you are ready to apply, typically the admissions department will assign you to an admissions counselor. So you have somebody you can go to with various questions or issues that come up. Many of the colleges will have their application process right on their website. So again, take advantage of the internet and the information that is readily available out there. So you can always look at that on their website too. Typically they'll have the application process up there. So then you'll need to get all of your documents in order and go for it. Be sure that somebody else is proofreading and kind of helping you along with this process. You want to make sure you don't have any typos, grammatical issues, things like that, especially when the college maybe requires an essay. Sometimes we can't always see our own typos and our own mistakes. So definitely have somebody take a peek over your work for you. Okay, now this is one thing that students always get a little nervous about is the SATs. So they are scary. I know, like achievement tests, they can be overwhelming and you get anxious about your tests and your scores and how well you're going to do. So I always kind of like to try and explain that process and what it's about to kind of ease some of that anxiety and tension around this. So what are they? They're widely used college admission tests that will allow them to see how you can apply the knowledge you've attained throughout high school. So before you even register for it, you want to know, does your school actually require it? So there are some schools out there that are SAT or ACT optional. Or maybe they have their own college admission test. So you don't want to bother taking them if you don't really need to. So take a look at, again, your admissions section of your college website. They'll let you know what you would need in the way of the SAT or ACT. So how do you register for them? Well, you register totally online. Everything is done online now with this, either collegeboard.org or actstudent.org. So what is the timing with this? When do I want to take my SATs? So typically you want to take them a year to a year and a half before you're going to graduate. That's not a hard and fast deadline. That's not something that's set in stone. I know it's a little unique with our program since Penn Foster self-paced. You don't always 100% know when you're going to graduate. You might have a date or a month in mind that you want to be done, but you might not necessarily know that for sure. So it's just kind of a suggestion. So if you're planning to graduate from our program, let's say in June of 2016, well, you would want to try and take the SAT at least once by maybe a year before that, or if not, you can take them whenever they fit in. The SAT is offered about 6 to 7 times a year, and the ACT is also offered about 6 to 7 times a year. And the test center is going to be something you find online on either collegeboard.org or actstudent.org. You would just input your zip code, and they would let you know where you can take either one of these tests. So again, with the timing, consider when you've finished most of your core coursework. So both of these tests cover language arts and math, and you want to make sure that you've covered enough coursework to do well on these tests. So reporting your scores, this is another important thing to think about. When you register for the SAT or ACT, you get up to 4 free colleges that you could send your score report to. So you definitely want to make sure you take advantage of these 4 free colleges that you could send your scores to, because otherwise you do have to pay a fee of, I believe it's somewhere around $12 to $13 per score report. So you want to take advantage of those for free, because that does save you. Okay, so what's the difference between the SAT and ACT? So you can find a lot of this information online, but just the basics of the differences: the SAT and ACT are scored differently. They have different ranges of scores. The SAT covers math, critical reading, and writing, and the ACT covers math, English, reading, science, and an optional writing component. Just a disclaimer about that optional writing. Usually you want to check into your college that you're considering to make sure that they don't require that writing piece if you're thinking about opting out, because they might tell you, yes, we need that writing sample. So you don't want to opt out and then end up having to go back again and take them and paying all over again, because they are not cheap tests. I mean, I believe they're around $50 to $54 right now to register for either the SAT or ACT. So you want to just be mindful of that. And most students take 2 tests. Either they take the SAT twice, they take the ACT twice, or they take each test once. So again, that's something that's up to you. So again, there's differences with guessing in the SAT and ACT, and then the timing is a little bit different as well. So how do you prepare yourself? There's actually a lot of information on each of the websites. So on College Board and on actstudent.org, they have a lot of resources. Both of them have a question of the day. You can follow that on Twitter. They have practice tests, full-length practice tests, sample questions on their website. There's a ton of resources out there on the web. These are just some examples. There's study guides you can purchase, but really there's a lot out there for you that you can seek to prepare yourself for these tests. So what score do I need to achieve? Neither of these tests are pass-fail. So if you have a prospective college in mind, again, collegeboard.org, it keeps coming up. It's a really great site that you can find so much information on. So if you go to college search and you type in the school you're considering, most schools on there will indicate their median SAT and ACT range, and median means the middle 50%. So the middle 50% of students that they accepted will show you what that range of scores is. So next, and perhaps most importantly, how do I pay for this whole thing? Because we all know college is definitely not cheap. It's really something you want to be mindful of going into this process. If you need more time for self-reflection and thinking, you might not want to jump right into a 4-year school. You might want to, like I said, maybe take a couple classes at a community college, think about it a little while, reflect a little on where you want to go with your life and with your career. But there are options out there, so I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I don't have the money for this, there's no way I could afford it. Well, there's many things out there for you so that you can afford it, so that it is an attainable goal. So what is the difference between scholarships and grants and loans? Well, a scholarship or a grant, those are 2 things that you would not have to pay back. So anytime you can get a scholarship or a grant, dive on that opportunity by all means, because you don't have to pay those back. Loans, you do. And there are private loans and public loans out there. So that is another thing to consider. So some tips for savings. FAFSA is an absolute must. You need to fill out FAFSA. It stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And I will go to that website a little bit later It's just FAFSA, FAFSA.gov, G-O-V. And your school, every school and every state has a different deadline to fill out FAFSA, so you want to make sure you're looking into that. So searching for scholarships online, fastweb.com is just one website that I'm aware of. I know there's many other out there. Contacting the school's financial aid office. So once you have your admissions counselor, that might be one thing to discuss with them. How do I get some financial aid? Do you have scholarships that I can apply for? Things like that. And again, we'll do a little bit of a live demo on the financial aid piece. And lastly, contact your local high school and ask them about scholarships for homeschoolers. So technically, you are considered a homeschool student if you're enrolled in Penn Foster. So contact your local high school, check into your guidance office at the local high school. They might be able to tell you about some scholarships you're eligible for. So I do have some things I want to cover still. Like I said, I want to do a quick live demo of various different things. But I'm just going to check and see, does anybody have any questions at this time? Okay, somebody said, how soon should you apply? Working on my high school diploma now and plan to be done before this fall semester? That's a great question. So if you are wanting to pursue college in the fall, you really want to get on that right now. I would look into the college you're applying to and see when their deadlines are. So some schools have set deadlines. They might say you need to have your application materials in by May 1st. That's it. Some have rolling admissions, which means they will accept they'll review applications and accept students on a rolling basis. So really look into that if you're planning to attend school in the fall. You want to get on that as soon as you can, definitely. Just looking over our questions before I go into the demo. Somebody said, I'm about to graduate this year. Is it okay to wait a year for college? Sure, it is okay to wait a year for college. That is totally up to you, but just be careful with it, because I do know students that kind of got into a little bit of a slippery slope, because sometimes a year could turn into 2 years, could turn into 5 years, and then they end up, not going back to college ever. So, and that's okay. I mean, life happens. Not everybody goes to college, but if you really are certain that this is something you want to think about, something you want for yourself, you might want to, instead of just taking a whole year totally off, maybe you would want to look at doing some courses online, or a course or two at a local community college. You don't have to be a full-time student. You can just do some classes part-time, like take a few credits. But again, that's personal preference, but that is just from my experience. Somebody said, do you have to go to college or technical school for pharmacy tech? I believe that pharmacy technicians, yes, and I think that varies by state. So you would want to look into that by your state and see what they require. But look at the Occupational Outlook Handbook, which is one of those websites we went to before, because that will certainly have pharmacy tech on there and certainly let you know what kind of degree is required for that career. Okay. So I'm going to do one more quick question before I go back into doing a live demo. So somebody said to take a medical, to take medical assistant, do we need to go to college? Again, these questions that you have that are career specific, really want to look at the Occupational Outlook Handbook and look at Career Cruising to find out the most accurate information about that. So with medical assistant, I do believe you need some kind of training. Might not necessarily be a college degree, but there are many schools out there that offer career diplomas or certificate programs where maybe it's like an 8-month program or 12-month program, something like that. So you don't necessarily need a college degree for every career, but you definitely may need some type of training. Okay, so I'll take some more questions after we do a little bit more of a demo. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was just kind of looking at different college websites and just how to navigate them. So I'm on Baton Rouge Community College. So a couple things that I talked about before. Okay, so admissions, that is one of the important ones that we talked about. So I don't see admissions anywhere on here. So where am I going to find it? That's probably what you're thinking. So, okay, another place, new students. Let's get started. Okay, apply online. So you can click there, and this is going to take you, oh, look at that, admissions and registration. There it is. So then it'll tell you about getting started, if you're a transfer student, first-time student, all that kind of thing. And it's, excuse me, it should have a way on here to contact them. Yeah, so here's their phone number. Oh no, that's their safety office. My bad. So let's see. I don't know where it is off the top of my head here. But if you go to contact us and request info, they could probably you probably fill out a little form, and they could send you information on the school and how to contact the school as well. So another one would be the financial aid situation. Financial services is what they call it. So every school calls things differently. So you just want to make sure you're being in tune to that. So where some schools might call it the financial aid office, this school calls it financial services. Okay, so financial aid, see, it tells you all about scholarship, cost to attend, dates and deadlines, making payments, that kind of thing. All useful information. You click on financial aid, and I'm sure it will take you right to this section. It will tell you all kinds of great information, veterans information, student loans, grants, net price calculator. So lots out there for you to take advantage of. Here's another school, Georgia State University. So they have it right on there, admissions, bam, it's right there. And then tells you all kinds of great stuff. Take a tour. That's one way that you can make sure, like I said, that you visit the school. So upcoming events, it'll tell you all about how to get involved in seeing this university. So you can schedule a group tour, you can come to a daily campus visit, all kinds of great information. And if you can't find something, so say if you're looking for financial aid, usually schools will have this little search box in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner. You could type financial aid and then hit search. And it'll kind of give you some responses here. So click on the financial aid process and look at that. They call it student financial services, and it'll take you right to their student financial area of their website. So this one, they have a phone number right on there. They tell you their federal school code. They give you all kinds of great information about the financial aid process, applying for aid, tips for FAFSA, great things. So, oh, look, they even have a little video. So there's a lot out there that you can find out on each individual college's website. I'm going to skip that piece for now. So, for instance, another school, admissions. So let's see, admissions requirements, and this will tell you what you need in the way of a first-year student. This shows you the mid-range of their SAT. Let's see, admissions events. This would be where you would find your open house information, spending a summer evening, things like that. You can register online. It'll tell you maybe if there's different campuses, things like that. and how to kind of get the information about visiting the school. Okay, so my last thing, and then I'm just going to take questions, and then we're going to try and wrap it up. So this is FAFSA, which I talked about before, fasa.ed.gov. So this is where you're going to really need to visit before you go to college. So start a new FAFSA. That is what you would click on to begin your application process. And you're going to need a lot of information before you apply for FAFSA. You're going to need information from yours or your family's previous year tax returns, things like that, income. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. So you want to make sure that you have all that good to go. School code search, that is what you'll need to use to find out the school code of the college you're applying to. And then deadlines, information about deadlines for your school. One really quick thing about filling out FAFSA, when you input your high school information, if you're a Penn Foster high school student, you will want to you'll have to type it in. You'll have to type in Penn Foster High School and then click next, because we're not listed on there since we are independent study. They don't list independent study programs on there, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get financial aid. It just is like, it means that you have to input it and just click next. It's not going to impact you really in any way. All right, so that's basically all I have, but I'm going to go to our question panel and see what we have here. So somebody said, how many colleges should I pick? That is a really good question. So it really depends on you. I always recommend at least 5 or 6, to be honest, because you should have a few reach schools, which are, maybe academically they're very challenging. You're not sure if you're going to get into them. And then a few schools that maybe would be a little bit more, maybe they have a higher admission rate, a higher acceptance rate of students. So those would be sometimes what they call them are the safety schools. And then like a couple that are in the middle of the road. So I would say 2 reach, 2 safety schools, and then 2 that are like in the middle of the road. So that's typically what I would recommend. Certainly do more, you could certainly do less. That's all up to you and personal preference. So somebody else said, hi, I have a question about a university wanting me to take a COMPASS test. What is that exactly? Good question. So a COMPASS test is an admission test. So when I talked briefly before about the SAT and ACT, you know how I said that not all colleges require them? The COMPASS is an admission test. And that college probably is going to tell you you don't need your SAT scores because we have an admission test called COMPASS. And the COMPASS test is just going to be an assessment of your skills, so they know what kind of classes that you need to be registered for. Hopefully that answers your question. Somebody said, I'm graduating in 2015. When do I start application if I want to go to college in the fall of 2015? Typically, you're going to want to start that this coming fall. So you would want to start that process in the fall of 2014. Some schools have deadlines in the fall. They might say you need to have your documents in by December 1st to be admitted for the fall of the following year. So be mindful of that. Look at the various schools and their deadlines, but it sounds like you're kind of ahead of the game, so that's good. Make sure you took your SATs or your ACTs if you need them. Make sure you use this summer to visit colleges. That's definitely something you could do. So then somebody else asked, if you want to become a graphic designer or a web designer, do you have to apply to art colleges only? No, absolutely not. There are many schools out there that offer graphic design or web design or, related programs that are not necessarily art schools. Something I recommend all students doing if you have a career in mind is really try to reach out to somebody in that career. Because, I mean, I can tell you what I know as a school counselor, but somebody in that field is going to be the best person to tell you about, how to get started basically in that area. What do you need as far as college coursework? What is the best kind of school for you to attend? Things like that. So what I would do if I were you is maybe just do a Google search of some graphic designers in your area, or not even necessarily in your area, maybe in the area you want to be in, and just looking at their website and looking for their contact information. And maybe just sending them a quick email. Hey, I'm hoping you can have the time to help me. I'm looking into graphic design as a career path. I'm a high school student. Can you please give me some advice on what kind of college you attended, what kind of background I would need to be successful in this area? Okay, so we'll take a couple of more. Somebody said, I'm 16, I'm going to graduate in a few months. I'm not planning on going to college for a couple of years. Should I take the SAT, ACT now or later? Well, I'd recommend taking it while everything is fresh in your mind. You can always take it now and then take it again later. But I would really recommend taking it while things are more fresh in your mind. That way you have those scores, and should you decide later on, I don't want to take it again, then you have them at least. And also, just as a side note, the SAT is going to change a little bit in 2016, I believe, is when it will change slightly. They're going to do some different things with the scoring. They're going to adjust the categories. So for you, graduating in a couple of months, it might be helpful to take it now and then maybe take it again once it changes so that you have some options as far as your scores go. So I'll wait about 1 or 2 more minutes to see if we get any other questions coming in from attendees. Okay, so somebody said, how do you go about getting grants for mothers? So maybe if you're a parent or a single parent, you might qualify for different things. Again, FAFSA, they will tell you what you qualify for. Once you fill FAFSA out and you tell them about your personal situation, your finances, things like that, they will tell you what you qualify for. And again, your financial aid office at your college is going to tell you a lot of that too. They might have specific scholarships that are available to you, maybe as a parent or as a single parent. And it's hard for me to say specifically what you qualify for because so many things as far as grants go and scholarships go that are state specific or school specific. So you want to look into that on that level, on the state level and the school level. So I guess maybe that's about all we have in the way of questions. If anyone has one more, I'll take one more. Otherwise, we'll try and wrap everything up. Just really quickly, I'm going to try and get this converted so that we could have it on our student community for you to access at a later time if you want to come back to this. And also, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on the community. Send us an email. I could definitely help you with this process. I know it can be, like I said, overwhelming and you don't always know where to start. So I guess that's about all we have for today. So I appreciate everybody's attentiveness and for tuning in on a Friday afternoon. One more person, I'll get their question and said, can you please show the recommended website again? Oh, absolutely. Okay, the websites I would recommend are, I'm assuming you're talking about this page here, the College Board and Career Cruising, things like that. Oh. There you go. So it's collegeboard.org, Career Cruising, which is accessible through your student portal, College View, I think it's .com, mytonomy.com, nextstepu.org, and Occupational Outlook, which is ooh.bls.gov. So again, the Occupational Outlook Handbook is ooh.bls.gov. Or you could just Google the Occupational Outlook Handbook. And then I don't know if you wanted these websites as well. Let me skip to this portion. But for the SAT or ACT, you're going to go to collegeboard.org or actstudent.org. And then these are your websites for kind of helping prepare for the SAT or ACT. And so hopefully that helps. And like I said, if you have any questions, definitely you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to help. So I think that about wraps it up. So have a nice weekend, everybody. And good luck with this process. And keep me in tune, and I will definitely be happy to help. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.